NASA climate scientists are warning about the potential resurgence of so-called zombie viruses, or viruses that can come back from the dead.
The Earth is entering a phase of purification, and humanity will be the first species erased from the planet's new biosphere. The Arctic and Siberia are now warming at 4 times the global average rate. The permafrost layer covering over 70% of Russia's territory, once stable for tens of thousands of years, is now melting at an unprecedented speed. As it thaws, it not only releases methane gas, a greenhouse gas 80 times more potent than CO2, but also carries with it what was sealed away since the Ice Age ancient viruses, bacteria, and DNA from extinct creatures. Scientists call permafrost a biological time capsule, a natural archive of evolutionary history. Now, that storage box is opening, layer by layer of frozen soil, revealing the remnants of ancient life. This is not just a sign of climate change, it is the ignition of a new biological cycle, where the Earth regenerates life without the need for humans. In 2022, a team of scientists at Aix-Marseille University in France, led by Professor Jean-Michel Claverie, announced a shocking discovery. They had successfully revived a 500-year-old virus found in Siberia's permafrost. This virus was named Pandora virus Yedoma, after the geological layer that held it. Yedoma permafrost, a frozen stratum formed at the end of the Ice Age. In the laboratory, when introduced to an environment containing amoebas, the ancient virus sprang back to life. It replicated its genetic material and invaded cells, just like the mechanisms of modern viruses. This stunned the scientific community. A life form sealed away for nearly 50,000 years could revive without any further evolution. Before that, in 2014, the same Claverie team had revived Pithovirus sibericum, a giant 30,000-year-old virus. At the time, many saw it as a limited experiment, but with Pandora virus Yedoma, everything changed. It was older, more complex, and proved that viruses could sleep for what seemed like an eternity. According to NASA, this phenomenon is known as the zombie virus phenomenon, the revival of ancient viruses after the ice melts. Even more concerning, samples from Siberia and Alaska still contain hundreds of unknown viruses, many with genetic material entirely different from today's biology. If Pandora virus is just the first example, then it means thousands of other life forms are lying dormant beneath the ice, waiting for the planet to warm enough to rise. And this time, no one knows what will awaken alongside them. As the permafrost melts, it's not just ancient viruses being released. Along with them come billions of tons of methane gas sealed away for tens of thousands of years, now escaping into the atmosphere. Methane is a greenhouse gas 80 times stronger than CO2, and it doesn't just heat the planet faster, it triggers a chain reaction of biological feedback. The hotter it gets, the more ice melts, the more it melts, the more methane is released. Since 2020, researchers from Jamstec in Japan have found microorganisms in ocean sediments over 100 million years old, yet still alive, still exchanging energy. This means ancient life didn't vanish, it just slumbered, waiting for the right conditions to return. Recent studies reveal an even newer phenomenon. As the ice melts, ancient DNA is being redistributed into the current environment. In 2025, a publication in Nature Ecology described how DNA strands from icy microorganisms were detected in the Arctic air, with the potential to integrate into modern organisms' genomes through natural exchange mechanisms. If that's true, then the Earth's genome is self-updating, recombining ancient genetic material with today's biology. Viruses, bacteria, DNA, methane, all are escaping the ice at once. This is no longer an isolated event. It resembles a global reload process. The planet is reactivating ancient biological components, once locked away after the previous extinction. The Earth isn't just melting its ice, it's re-establishing its own biosphere. And if this process continues, the biosphere we inhabit may no longer belong to the age of humanity, according to James Lovelock's Gaia hypothesis. The Earth is a self-regulating biological geochemical system that maintains balance. When one component pushes the entire planet beyond its tolerance threshold, as humanity is doing with climate, and the environment feedback loops activate to return the Earth to a new equilibrium. That process is the biological reset chain. First, as temperatures rise, the permafrost in Siberia, Alaska, and Canada begins to disintegrate, releasing massive amounts of methane gas along with organic remains, bacteria, and viruses sealed away for tens of thousands of years. In the first 20 years, Each methane molecule traps heat dozens of times more effectively than CO2. Accelerating global warming? At the same time, ancient pathogens, including giant viruses like Pandoravirus or Pithovirus, are unleashed into the environment, rejoining the current biological cycle. As methane and toxic gases accumulate, climate feedback loops kick in. Ice melts faster, summers lengthen, winters warm, and permafrost regions turn into oxygen-deprived, waterlogged swamps. Old disease reservoirs awaken. Wild animals and livestock begin showing strange epidemics, while plants endure heat stress, wildfires, and droughts. The oceans face similar impacts. Warmer waters hold less oxygen. Dead zones expand. Nutrient flows shift, causing water layers to stratify. Corals and plankton acidify, and marine food webs weaken severely. The current biosphere becomes unstable. Many species adapted to temperate climates decline or go extinct, and biological productivity drops on a massive scale. Simultaneously, the new physical and chemical conditions favor extremophiles, ancient bacteria and heat-tolerant. Acid-resistant, oxygen-deprived microorganisms begin expanding their ranges. Methane-producing groups thrive in warm, wet soils, continuing to emit more greenhouse gases, while decomposer bacteria explode locally, altering soil structure and the atmosphere. In warmer climates, disease-carrying insects like mosquitoes and ticks spread northward. Meanwhile, under the oceans, toxic algal blooms appear more densely, releasing poisons and depleting oxygen, driving fish and mollusks from their habitats. In other words, the Earth is self-adjusting, eliminating unadapted species, and creating opportunities for other biosystems to take over. The biosphere is heading toward a new equilibrium, where humanity is no longer central. Parallel to these changes, ancient DNA from thawing soils and ice begins dispersing again. Most degrades, but some can be absorbed by modern bacteria through horizontal gene transfer, granting them enhanced resistance to toxins, salinity, or harsh climates on a long-term scale. This is like an update package for microorganisms, the foundation of the entire biogeochemical cycle. Geological data from the past shows such resets have happened before the end of the Permian. The Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary, or other mass extinctions all involved rapid warming, ocean deoxygenation, and complete restructuring of microbial communities. Each time, the planet eliminated the old dominant species and paved the way for new evolutionary branches. In the logic of planet reset, melting ice releases methane and ancient pathogens. Toxic gases and climate feedbacks weaken the current biosphere. The environment then reconfigures to prioritize other life forms, starting with microorganisms. If this chain continues, humanity's position in the biosphere will erode until it's eliminated from the new balance. And the remaining question is, how fast will this reset cycle accelerate when all the feedback loops are operating at once? What's happening in Siberia, the Arctic, and other polar regions is no longer a forecast. It's empirical proof that the planet reset cycle has ignited every layer of data from climate, biology, to archaeology tells a unified story. The planet is self-activating its systems once more. From 2020 to 2024, Russian scientists and NASA recorded a series of methane explosions in the Yamal and Gaidan regions of northern Siberia. Methane gas pressure trapped in the ice builds as permafrost thaws, causing the ground to erupt, forming massive craters up to 50 meters deep. When surveyed, these craters continue emitting dense methane, a heat-trapping gas 80 times stronger than CO2, fueling an uncontrollable warming cycle. NASA calls this the runaway greenhouse effect once started. The process cannot be reversed. Not far away. In Yakutia, home to the city of Yakutsk, built on permafrost, the land is sinking. Buildings tilt, roads crack, water and power systems are destroyed as the ground loses stability. Humanity's entire infrastructure is being swallowed by the melting ice, a clear physical manifestation of a planet in reconstruction. Alongside this, prehistoric animal remains are unearthed continuously woolly mammoths, ancient dogs, woolly rhinoceroses, even frozen horse fetuses with intact soft tissues. Laboratories in Yakutia, Hokkaido, and Paris have confirmed the tissues, blood, and DNA in these corpses still hold biological activity, meaning life forms buried for tens of thousands of years are gradually waking up. At the same time, soil samples laden with ancient viruses and DNA are found in increasing numbers, from giant viruses like Pandoravirus and Malavirus to gene segments that match no modern species. They emerge together, in the same thawing samples like synchronized biological signals from a system self-booting. When compiling all the data: methane, land subsidence, viruses, ancient DNA, infrastructure collapse, climate models reveal an undeniable trend. The Earth is shifting states. The old equilibrium structure is crumbling, and elements dormant for tens of thousands of years are slowly reclaiming control. If the ice ages, extinction eras, and resurrection periods in history were chapters of previous reset cycles, then the current phase is the prelude to the latest re-establishment. The only difference this time: humanity is living at the epicenter of the process. If the rate of ice melt, methane emissions, and ancient virus releases continues as it is, the Earth will soon cross the point of no return, the stage where all climate feedback loops self-sustain, heating the planet even if humans stop emitting. NASA calls this the runaway greenhouse effect, a self-operating greenhouse that turns the Earth into an uncontrollable system. As methane and toxic gases spread, the atmosphere will alter its chemical composition. Humans cannot survive in such an environment. Oxygen decreases, temperatures exceed physiological limits, and the ozone layer's destruction intensifies ultraviolet radiation. Creatures adapted to temperate conditions, including our species, will gradually be removed from the evolutionary chain. Meanwhile, ancient microbes escaping the ice are heat-resistant, toxin-tolerant, and quick to adapt. They become the vanguard biological force, recolonizing regions once dominated by humans. What we call natural disasters, pandemics, land collapses, wildfires, toxic gases, heat storms, methane eruptions may not be accidents, but the planet's natural defense responses. The Earth, with its self-regulating mechanisms, seems to be activating a biological purification process, eliminating disruptive structures with humanity at the center. Looking back at geological history, every reset cycle ends with the collapse of the dominant species. The Permian wiped out 95% of marine life. The Cretaceous ended the dinosaurs era. The last ice age erased numerous ancient human lineages. The current cycle differs only in that we are witnessing ourselves become the next victims. But from the Earth's perspective, this is not apocalypse. Planet reset is not punishment, but a natural cleansing to restore balance. Humanity is merely a temporary biosphere version, an outdated operating system in the planet's long progression. When the purification cycle ends, the Earth will continue to live, but without us in it. In evolutionary history, every time life reaches its limits, the planet wipes it clean and restarts. After the Permian extinction, bacteria and single-celled organisms recolonized the oceans, paving the way for the explosion of vertebrates. After the dinosaurs vanished, mammals emerged and eventually developed intelligence. Every extinction cycle concludes with a new chapter of life. As the current biosphere collapses, the seeds of the next life are already prepared, sealed in ice for tens of thousands of years, now released alongside viruses, bacteria, and ancient DNA. They are the raw materials the Earth uses to rebuild the biosphere. Those ancient gene strands could integrate into modern microbes, kickstarting a new evolution, a version of life where humans are irrelevant. The Earth will not die. It will simply reset, replacing an old biological shell with a new one. Like software self-cleansing on system error, humanity, with all its technology and intelligence, may be just a brief phase in the planet's long journey. And as the first sprouts of the new era begin to form, this planet will be green again, with water, with the movement of biology, but without traces of our current civilization. Humanity's end may be the Earth's beginning. The only question left is not for science, but for us. If the planet is regenerating, do we deserve to be recreated with it, or have we become a system error that must be erased forever?